From suits and ties to lederhosen. In a $10 billion cross-pond deal, the Germans will soon take control of an American icon and symbol of American capitalism, the New York Stock Exchange. To Donald Trump, on the phone with us now. Donald, I don't think you like this, but, you know, when you're broke, you give stuff, you sell stuff to the highest bidder, don't you?
Well, isn't it really a sad situation when this country has the New York Stock Exchange taken over by the Germans? I mean, the only thing worse I can't imagine is taken over by the Chinese, but maybe that'll be next. One of our great places will be taken over by the Chinese, although that's already happening. But it's a sad commentary for this country.
Doesn't it remind you of the late 80s, early 90s, when the Japanese bought Rockefeller Center? They bought the Pebble Beach Golf Course. They paid a lot of money for those icons of American property, and they lost their shirts.
That's true. They did lose their shirts, but that was not the New York Stock Exchange. I mean, the New York Stock Exchange is much more sacred than anything that you mentioned. I mean, this is one of our original institutions, our great institutions, represents everything that we stand for in terms of free enterprise. And for us to be selling that to Germans, it just doesn't make sense. There has to be some kind of a regulatory approval process that would stop it.
Would you stop it? And if you were in a position to stop it, would you stop it?
If I were in a position, I wouldn't have even allowed the conversation to take place.
On what grounds?
On the grounds that I don't want foreign countries owning the New York Stock Exchange.
It's as simple as that to you.
It's very simple. It's very simple. It's black and white. You know, not everything has to be complicated. I went to the Wharton School of Finance. I was a wonderful student. They always said, make it as simple as possible. This is real simple. We don't want Germany owning the New York Stock Exchange.
What would you do if they changed its name? They'll probably keep New York in there somewhere, but supposing they called it the Bourse.
Oh, wouldn't that be beautiful?
Well, it's a non-American word. It's a very European word. What would you do if they said that?
Well, I have a building right next, 40 Wall Street, it's actually the tallest building. Sadly, after the World Trade Center, it's now the tallest building in downtown Manhattan. Its doors face the New York Stock Exchange. When they start calling it the Bourse, I think I sell my building as quickly as possible.
Well, you can't do anything about it. It is going to happen. What's next?
Well, I just think that if I were the president, and I hope that he sees this, I would do something, because they do need regulatory approval of some kind, and I just don't think a foreign country, and I'm not talking about Germany, I'm talking about, I don't think a foreign country should be owning the New York Stock Exchange or a foreign company. They shouldn't be owning the New York Stock Exchange.
Well, you know, doesn't this all go back to America's whole financial situation? We've just had a budget where we've got deficits of $1 trillion as far as the eye can see, deeper and deeper and deeper into debt. We are flat out broke. Our financial condition encourages this fire sale, doesn't it, of American quality properties. It could be that the Chinese will be next. They have the money.
Well, this is beyond quality property. This is a whole symbol. Yep. And what it really does is show how the lack of respect that this country has. When you look at what's happening all over the world, we're a whipping post for the world. They drain us of our money, and then they buy our assets. It's rather amazing.
What would you do, first thing, if you were president? I know you were at a conference recently of conservatives. You were talking about running for the presidency. Let's suppose you run, you win, you're the president. What's the first thing you do to restore America?
Well, the first thing I do is call up OPEC and say, fellas, if OPEC even exists, because those countries are falling apart faster than we can speak. But I would call up OPEC and say, fellas, you're not selling us oil anymore. It's not going to be 100. It's not going to be 150 or $200 a barrel. You're going to get it down to 40, and you wouldn't be there if it weren't for us. The second thing I do is, because of the fact that China manipulates their currency to such a great extent, it's impossible to compete with them for our great companies. It's virtually impossible. I would put a 25% tax on Chinese products, which, number one, would bring in a lot of money, but much more importantly, it would put a lot of people to work, because people would start having their toys and other products made in Alabama, North Carolina, and lots of other places.
Are you prepared to say you're running yet?
No, I'm not, but I will be making a statement on that sometime in June or prior to June.
Donald Trump, everybody, thank you very much for joining us.
Have a good time. Thank you.